Alright, so we're going to have another lesson on tkinter and doing GUI programming. The problem with these things is the code for this GUI stuff just gets so long. So the downside to GUI programming, again, is that every time you lay out a window, which can take a lot of code to get the thing laid out, but then when you get it laid out, you also have to code in the different actions. I would show you how to put a menu into your window. So you may have not noticed this, but in the windows we've created so far, there weren't any menu options. Okay, standard setup. We set up a root window. We make a class. This case is called editor, and we're going to instantiate that, and then we're just going to go ahead and run this root main loop. And then up here is where things get interesting. Okay, so in the initialization for the editor, first we're assigning the root, and we have something called text. What we're going to do here is create a text editor. And so this is going to be the actual value of the text that's typed in. This is a very simple text editor. There's no highlighting or italicizing or anything like that. We could add that functionality, but I didn't. So this is the actual text that somebody typed in. And then we're going to be able to save the file. Or save the text as a file, so we have a file name. Okay, so here's how then we set up a menu system. So we're going to first set up a menu bar, and we get that from calling tk.menu. I guess I should point out that up top, as normal, we have imported tkinter as tk, and then we've also imported something called file dialog, and we'll see how that works in a little bit. All right, so we set up a menu bar, and then we're going to add things into this menu bar. So we're going to add a file menu to menu bar, and we put in this tear off equals 0 because it turns out that in some operating systems, if you had a menu, like this is a menu, you could actually separate it from the window, which turned out to be not a good idea. So we're just going to go ahead and make that equal to 0. So we're going to have two different menus. We're going to have a file menu, and then we're going to have an edit menu, I believe. Oh, I'm sorry, in this incarnation, we are just going to have the file menu, and then in the next one of the next videos, we're going to have another menu. Okay, so we're going to add a bunch of commands to this file menu. So we're going to add a new option, open, save, save as, and quit. And then we're going to add all those in to menu bar as a cascade, which means when you click on this, then you get something that looks like that. Maybe not exactly like that, but something like that. So we're adding this cascade to the original menu bar up here, and we're labeling that as file. And then there's a bunch of other stuff that we have here that we probably should talk about. Okay, so first of all, we're saying the menu is self.file menu in this case. So when we add this cascade, the cascade we're adding is file menu. But then there's this underlined 0 business. There's accelerators up here. Okay, so when you have a file, like a file menu like this, notice that these letters are underlined. And what that means is if I type Control-N or Alt-N, then I just typed Alt-N, sorry, not Control-N. If I type Alt-N, then I can bring that menu up using a shortcut. And so the N is underlined to indicate I can use Alt-N. But then for all these, there's also another shortcut using control characters. So we're defining two versions of shortcuts. One is using the Alt, so I use Alt-N, and then I see a C there. So I did Alt-N, I can type in a C, and that brings up enter a class name. How do I get rid of this? Get out of here. This is silly. Okay. Maybe we just hit enter. Well. Whoa. Okay, I have no idea what I just did. I didn't want to do that, so let's just ignore all of that. So basically, we're setting up shortcut keys to get to all these menu options. Definitely optional, but the underlined 0 here means underline the first character in this. So the N will be underlined. This will have the O open underlined. This the S. We've already underlined an S, so this one we're going to do the A for the save as, and then the Q for quit, and then the F for file. Now, so this stuff is this is going to be called new open save as. These are the shortcuts. The thing we really need to know is if somebody actually then clicks new, what's going to happen? Well, this is where the command comes in. And so we have to have a bunch of built-in methods to execute the new open save as. And for the last one, we're actually going to just use the root method quit. Then that will just close the window out for us. Okay, now we have all this set up. We have to configure this in the root window as a menu. So this is all the basics of setting up a menu. And it takes a lot of code to get these things set up, right? Now we're going to set up an actual text editor. And amazingly enough, that's the easy part because there's a built-in thing called text. So we're just going to add a tk.text into the root window. It's going to have a height of 40 and a width of 100, and that's just going to be our text editor right there. And we're going to put that in the first position. Notice that this is in row 0, column 0. All the stuff up here is in a separate part of the window as part of the menu. And then, let's see, we have up here, we said the accelerator is going to be Control-N. So supposedly if I type in Control-N, I should get a new. Well, you actually have to make that happen. Just saying you're going to do it doesn't mean you actually do it. So down here, we're going to bind Control-N to the same method self.new. So these are just binding all of these shortcuts up here to the same commands as we have in the menu. All right, so in the case of new, then we're going to set the text equal to an empty string. We're going to delete all of the text in the edit, and it starts at position 1, and it's a decimal, 1.0. I'm not going to go into why that is, but it is. So let's just start with 1.0. We're going to delete it to the end of whatever is there. So somebody could have already typed some stuff in. We delete all that out. Remember, this is the edit window up here. And then we're going to set the title of our main window to empty string. We'll see how that works in a minute. Now, notice that these all have events. The events default to none. The reason why we pass in an event is because each of these can be called by a control click kind of thing, in which case if we don't have an event here to pass in, tkinter will get angry with us. If we open something, then we are going to, now remember up here I included this file dialog. Now when you do a new, well, let's just run this thing. We'll just run text editor. And here's what it looks like. And so here's our file. And then here's all the options, the new, the open, the save. And because we had those accelerators in there, let's arrow this up a little bit. Because we had those accelerators in there, it prints them as part of the file. So we can see those. It doesn't have anything underlined, and this is a default in tkinter that's hard to, I'm not quite sure why it does it this way, but if I do Alt-F, I can bring up that file menu, and now everything is underlined the way I said it was going to be, but you have to click Alt first to get those. Anyways, if I click on, let's see, which one were we looking at? If I click on Open, go to Open, then in this case, what we want to bring up is a dialog or a new window that shows us the file system. Now, we could go out and create our own window, go out and read the file system on the computer, print that to a window, and then create a thing that allows somebody to choose the file that they want. Fortunately, that is all built in for us in this file dialog module. So We go to File Dialog, and we just ask Open File Name. The default extension, we're only going to look at text files, or we'll also take Python files. So the default extension is going to be text, and then the two types of files we're going to handle are text files .txt and Python files .py, and that's it. And this will bring up a little window for us. So we'll go File and Open, and when we do that, this whole thing is this module right here working for us. And I don't appear to have a text file in here to open just yet, so we'll have to wait to see how that works. This gives us a file name. Then we know how to we know how to open a file name, right? So we do open with a file name. We're going to open in read mode, and then we are going to read that file in and put the contents into text. Now, that doesn't put it into the text editor. This puts it into the string text. In the text editor, we're going to delete anything that was in there, and we're going to insert at position 1 the text we just read in. And now we're going to set the title of the window to file name. With save, we are going to get from the edit box. So again, that's the tk.text box up there. We're going to get from that the string from 1 to the end. We're going to put that into our text. And then we have a file name already set at this point if we're doing a save and not a save as. So we are just going to write out to that file name text, and then we'll flush it out just to make sure that it writes in a timely manner. If we do a save as, then we do a very similar kind of thing. We make sure that we get the text from whatever was typed in, and this brings up a dialog box to say what do you want to save it as. Again, the possible types of files are text files and Python files. This gives us a file name, which we then can open up in W+ mode. And then we can write out to it, and we'll change the title to the name of the file. So let's watch this thing in action again. Okay, so I'm going to just type some stuff in here and then save it. You should have seen that coming if you hadn't already. Now, this is in edit, self.edit. So right now, I am typing in this tk.text, or edit. And the actual text string up here is still empty. I haven't changed anything with that. So I'm just using this widget text. And I can type all kinds of stuff in here if I want to. Just say lots of hellos. That seems nice and friendly. Okay, now when I come up here to File, and right now notice that my window set is TK. When I come up here to File, I'm going to do a Save As, which is going to call then this method, Save As. And now I take all the stuff that's in this widget, so the hello world, the hello class, and I'm going to put that in my string self.text. Then I bring up this file dialog, which is save as file name. And it's going to get us a file name, and it's going to ask me, what do I want to save this as? And I'll say hello world. And we'll save that as a text file. Notice that by default, I'm getting a text file here. Remember, that was the default extension. I could choose to save this as a Python file if I wanted to, but those are my only two options. And we'll save this. And when I hit save, or when I hit enter, then it opens the file, it writes to it, flushes it out, and it changes. Now here's a new thing I haven't showed you before. You can change the title of your window, and it's very simple to do that. You just do root.title and put a string in here. In this case, the string is a file name, and notice now that up here we have the full path to the file name in here. And also we saved, we have this hello world.txt, and it says hello world and hello class in it. So now I can go ahead and type away and erase some things like this. And blah, 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 enter blah, 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 blah. And if I do new, I'm not going to click new. Let's go up here and look at the method for new. What's that going to do? So new, when we do new, that means that we should zero out the internal text string, and we're going to delete all this stuff inside this widget. Okay, and those again are two different actions. And then we're going to put the title back to something empty. So we're going to do File, New, and the internal text is set to 0. Everything that was in here was deleted, and we are no longer working with a file up here, so we got rid of that title. Now we'll open up a file. We're doing the open here, which is going to bring up this ask for open file name. So it brings up this box and allows me to click on this, and then when I click open, this is going to return back to here file name. So we'll return that back, and when it does that, we do the open file. We read the entire contents of the file into the string. Hope it's not too big. Then we delete off anything that was in here. So, and we write out the contents of the file. So I could type in all kinds of stuff here. And then when I do this open file, and do hello world again, if first, did you see it? You could actually see it happen. It deleted all the stuff that was in here and then inserted the text from the file and changed this up here to be the file name. All right, so what should you get out of this? Well, okay, I mean, the whole goal of this thing was to show you how to set up menus, but I think the hint that you're getting here with Windows programming is that you have to define everything. It's not just enough to create the menu, but when you create the menu, you have to tell it what to do with it. So you have to create methods for all of those things. Now, the neat thing is there are already some built-in modules in tkinter that do a lot of work for you. So when we're looking for files or saving as files, those are things that are already written. So that makes our life a lot easier, even though we have all this code to create this simple text editor. But now we do have a functioning text editor. You can change, well, I guess it's down below. So I'm just kind of reviewing some of the things we saw in here. You can change the title of your root window. And then the other thing is, again, with all the bindings, so you can combine shortcuts to your methods. And then when you're dealing with a text box like this, you probably want to associate a string with it if you're going to use it in any way. And you do a get. Let's see, where is it? A get on that text to get the actual value of the string out, or a set to set the value. But before you set it, you probably want to delete the stuff that's already in there out, and then insert stuff in. I said set, but you want to insert. Okay, well, there's a lot of information in there. When you're doing GUI programming, again, you got a lot of work to do, but it can be cool, and you can create neat things with it.